So spring training rolls along as pitchers continue to stretch their arms out, but two notable pitchers in the Mets bullpen plans for 2025 are no sure thing for opening day. Last year, the Mets finished 17th, middle of the pack as far as bullpen earned run average, but with some notable names dealing with injuries today, we're going to discuss, is the Mets bullpen equipped enough to be a strength of this team heading into 2025? First, let's just get this out of the way. Yes, he's in the thumbnail, but no, Edwin Diaz is not someone that I'm concerned about. Last year, a bit of a down one by his standards at least, but he's now 2 full years removed from the knee injury he suffered in the World Baseball Classic. And something that a lot of people forget, while he has 3 years left on his current deal, he does have an opt-out after this season. So I think we can expect a highly motivated Edwin Diaz this upcoming season. Now, just because you're motivated doesn't mean you're going to go out and put up huge numbers. Relievers are finicky year to year. That's going to be a theme throughout this evaluation. But I think now with a little more confidence in that knee, one less year of mileage on that arm, I think Diaz will be a virtual lock as one of the top closers in baseball as he has been over the past few years. So now let's round out the rest of this group after Diaz. If I'm a betting man, the way I see it, it'll be AJ Minter, Ryan Stanek, Reed Garrett, Jose Butto, Dedniel Nunez. And after that, there's one spot remaining for this team. And that'll come down between Sean Reed-Foley, Huascar Brazaban, Kevin Hergert, Max Kranick, who showed some pretty good stuff in his first outing or two in spring training here, Austin Warren, Danny Young, who had a good-sized season with the Mets last year, Tyler Zuber, and Genesis Cabrera. And I think the pitcher the Mets choose out of that group will ultimately depend on the health of two of the most important pieces in that group, and that's AJ Minter and Dedniel Nunez. Let's start off with Minter, who comes over from the Braves and was probably the biggest offseason addition for the bullpen this year after a 3.28 ERA and 8 years with Atlanta. But last year, Minter was limited to just 39 games. He had season-ending hip surgery in August, and that came after his velocity had dipped in each of the past few seasons, including as low as 94 miles per hour last year prior to his injury. Despite that, the Mets signed him this offseason to a 2-year, $22 million deal, but Anthony DeComo reported that Sunday was the first time that Minter threw to live batters. He threw 20 to 25 pitches, and DeComo went on to say it featured more hard hits and fewer swings and misses than he would have liked going up against Pete Alonso, Starling Marte, and others. Minter said that he hopes to be available for opening day and, quote, that he and the Mets are going to be smart about it, and if he has to miss a couple of days or weeks, he's hoping to be available at the end of the season. Now, I think Minter's being smart about this. I think the Mets are as well. A 31-year-old coming off hip surgery whose velocity has been ticking down over the past couple of years. The Mets just invested 2 years and $22 million in him. But on paper, Minter is easily the second most effective and experienced reliever in this bullpen, outside of Ryan Stanek, who had some issues last year. Yes, he was tremendous in October, but we all forget that he wasn't exactly locked down in the regular season. So Minter missing opening day is one thing, even the first week of the season. When he goes on to say a couple of weeks, I start to get concerned. I start to get JJ Putz vibes from 2009. I start to get Dellin Betances vibes from 2018. Guys who had really impressive careers at other teams, but didn't come to the Mets, and either health fails them or they're just never truly the same and the gas tank is empty. If the Mets and Minter think that taking the slow roll and being cautious and bringing him back is the right move, then I have to agree with it. But at the same time, there's no doubt the Mets are going to miss him big time, and hopefully this is the way that he misses the least amount of time. And that brings us to another injury that the Mets pen is dealing with, and they have been for a while now, and that is Dedniel Nunez. Nunez had a breakout year in 2024, 2.31 ERA in the first half for the team, but Nunez would go down with an elbow injury in late July and miss over a month. He did finally come back. He made an appearance in August, and he looked great, but then missed another week. And then another week went by, and the Mets would ultimately shut him down for the rest of the season after that, and we would never see him again in 2024. Now, Nunez is back in camp, but according to Carlos Mendoza, quote, isn't close to pitching. His exact words were, I don't think we are going to see him in a game anytime soon. That immediately is concerning, whether he's on a throwing program or not. It'd be nice to see him actually in a game. The team is probably, like Minter, taking extra special caution with Nunez, who at 28 years old was a rookie last season. But for the Mets to lose him or Minter, or possibly both, for an extended period of time would mean a serious dip in quality from the bullpen. Looking at Fangraphs, after Edwin Diaz, AJ Minter is expected to be the second most productive reliever in the pen with a 3.4 ERA over 53 innings. Fangraphs then has Nunez just behind Jose Butto at number 4 in the Mets pen with a 3.5 ERA in 49 innings. So while David Stearns has proven to have a short leash for his relievers and utilizing call-ups and free agents to his advantage, it could be tricky to navigate. But here's a few names we could expect. In the case that Dedniel Nunez is not ready to be on the opening day roster, the most likely guy to replace him would be Sean Reed-Foley. Reed-Foley missed most of last season due to injury. He did have a 1.66 ERA in 22 innings last year, but he doesn't have any options left. So the Mets can't stash him away in the minors without first passing him through waivers. So that bodes well in his favor. A guy that hasn't exactly put it all together in several years with the Mets, and before that, Toronto, when the Mets traded for him. The Mets may not want to let him just go to another team without seeing what he has left in him. The Mets only have 2 left-handed relievers on their 40-man roster. Minter's one of them, and the other is Danny Young. Young was serviceable for the team, a 4.5 ERA last year in 42 appearances, and was effective against lefties, held them to a 207 batting average. Didn't allow a homer to any of them either, but the problem for him is his walks. He issued 18 last year in 37 innings. What does play well for Young, just like Reed-Foley, he's also out of options. So the Mets would have to pass him through waivers, and I just don't know if that's a risk that they're willing to take. Then a wild card, my dark horse candidate if AJ Minter's unable to be ready for opening day, and that is Genesis Cabrera. A 6-year MLB career between St. Louis and Toronto and a 3.59 ERA over that time. The Mets signed him this offseason to a minor league deal, which at first glance seems a little surprising. He had a 3.5 ERA for the Jays last year in over 50 appearances. But when you look a little bit deeper, Cabrera's FIP nearly 2 full runs higher at 5.13. So maybe just some good fortune for Cabrera in Toronto last year. But to me, it's got to be one of those 2 guys, Young, who has a little bit of time with the Mets and may have a little bit higher level of comfort with the team, or Cabrera, who was once a promising relieving prospect, but hasn't exactly lived up to the hype, had better numbers, though, than Young last year. So what do you guys think? If AJ Minter and Dedniel Nunez are not ready for opening day or miss an extended period of time, are you concerned about the Mets bullpen in 2025? Also, who would you replace Minter or Nunez with? Would it be Sean Reed-Foley for a right-hander? Or in the case of Minter going down, would you go with Danny Young, Genesis Cabrera, or somebody else? Let me know in the comment section below. 24 days away from opening day. Let's go Mets.